Hey everybody, welcome to day 39 of the 40-day Take Back Your Life video journey. 40 days of thinking right so that we can live right. This is the next to the last day, so this is the eve of our finish. And so I hope that you are excited to arrive at the end of this journey just as we are. But for today, we're going to talk about fighting the fear.
Fighting the fear. We alluded to this a little bit a couple of weeks ago about feel the fear and do it anyways.
Yeah. Our verse today comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 4 and 5. My weapons have the power of God to destroy the camps of the enemy. I destroy every claim and every reason that keeps people from knowing God. I keep every thought under control in order to make it obey Christ. And that's from the NIRV version. And so, basically we're just talking about the fact of we've got to learn to lean in and fight our fear when anxiety wants to take over. Pastor used the analogy of one of his daughters going on a roller coaster ride and how she was terrified at the beginning, and then at the end it was such a magical thing that was the ride that she enjoyed. And overcoming this fear is something that is a lifetime memory.
And it was surprising for him because what he saw was the outside, everything that it took for her to get onto the ride.
And he saw it at the end too. He was surprised that was what she remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks to what it means whenever we overcome the fear, whenever we fight through it and we get to the end of it anyway, even though it's uncomfortable, even though we don't really want to do it. That's whenever we experience some of our greatest victories.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor talks about fighting the fear, not feeding the fear. Oftentimes we talk about how fear is something that we continually feed, because whenever the situation comes up, we just go, well, it can't work out any different this time than it did last time, or it can't be any better whenever we try it for a second time, whatever the case may be. We predetermine what's going to happen before we ever step into the situation.
Whenever I think of that, I think of Pastor Stephen's message probably, 2 months ago or so, where he says that we can either feed our fear or feed our faith. And instead of asking, what if this goes wrong, we can start asking, what if this goes right? Pastor
talks about declaring war on our fear.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote an entire book called I Declare War. I think this is part that came from that, and that is the fact that when we declare war on something, our mentality shifts. So not too unlike the government, whenever we declare war on another country, most people's mindset shifts and we become, all in and going after and winning that war. Same thing in our mind. Whenever we declare war on our fears, our mindset shifts. Pastor says once you declared war, your mentality shifts. Once you realize, oh my gosh, these are not peacetime conditions, you live smarter and you make smarter choices on a day-to-day basis. Pastor then also tells us that we need to control what we can. Whenever we face fears, there are certain things that we can control and certain things that we can't control. And that's where our faith has to really kick in.
We can't control the first thought that comes into our mind, but we can control the second thought. Mm-hmm. The second thought being how we're going to respond, how we're going to react to that first thought. And he talks about making our thoughts obedient to Christ. Meaning, am I going to hold on to this thought, or am I going to release that thought out because it's not obedient?
Mm-hmm. The first thought is usually something that you cannot control. The second thought is a choice. So That's a good point. We need to remember that second thought is where we begin to make the choice to fight our fear rather than to feed our fear. He talked about the 888 rule. If we're talking about controlling the things that we can, what if we got 8 hours of sleep? On the average, he said, if you get 6 one night, maybe you get 10 the next night. Work as best you can to get 8 hours of sleep on average. That we drink 8 glasses of water a day, and that we start our day with 8 minutes with Jesus and we end our day with 8 minutes with Jesus. I like to get 8 hours of sleep. It doesn't usually happen unless I'm on vacation, sort of like we are right now. I can get 8 hours on vacation pretty easily, but most of the time I don't.
Whenever we're on vacation, he doesn't have something else pulling at him to get up and go do it.
Pastor states that using the 888 method does a couple of things. It starves our fear and it feeds our faith. So just that little bit of time that we can spend in the morning and in the evening, first and last, with Jesus will make a huge difference in how we see things. I can speak from experience that the more time that you invest with the Lord in your day, the better things tend to look. Now, it doesn't mean they're always better, but they tend to look different whenever you have spent the time investing in that relationship with Jesus.
Think all the way back to like week 1 or week 2, whenever we started saying the phrase, what you focus on expands. That's a good example of it right there. Whenever you focus on starting and ending with 8 minutes in the Word or with Jesus, it expands the rest of what you're doing because you're bookending your day.
For me personally, I don't typically put a focus on spending time with Jesus at the end of my day. Maybe I should start that habit. We can start that together. But I do typically start most every day with Jesus. And so I know that it's made a huge difference in my life over the last several years, as that's been a real focus for me. And so it's become, a bit of a thing. I know that I can get up, get into my daily reading time. And some days it's exceptional. Some days it's just sort of like, okay, I got through that. And one of the things that Jaden talked about with me for a long time is she's like, I don't want to do it if I don't feel like I'm getting something out of it. And I said, honey, that's not necessarily the case. We don't have to get something out of it dramatic or life-altering or an epiphany every day. What we need to do is have that habit of spending time with Jesus every single day. And he makes things happen whenever we invest that time to get to know him and get to be real with him.
I'm so glad that he changed that second time that he said that, to invest. That's a big deal. Whenever you're talking about spending time and investing time, those are two different things. Whenever you spend something, it's gone forever. Whenever you invest it, you're putting in more and more compound interest. So whenever you change even just that mentality of that you're investing time with Jesus or you're spending time with Jesus, just the way that you say it, your mind thinks of it differently.
All right, so we're going to use all these techniques to fight our fear. We're going to continue to push towards thinking right so that we can live right. So we have one more day together on this journey. It's day number 40. Can you believe it's been 40 days? Get up and show up is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I hope that you'll be with us to wrap this thing up and that we'll finish strong, just like we started strong. Have an amazing day. We'll see you tomorrow.